The sport of off-road racing is full of incredible stories, wild characters, legends, and even villains. We cover it all on offroadracer.com, but there's only so much we can put down in an article. Sometimes we have to dig a little deeper, and that means sitting down with some of our industry's most influential characters and hitting record. Welcome to the Off-Road Racer podcast, a Mad Media production, made exclusively for offroadracer.com. Each month, we'll go beyond the dirt into the homes, shops, and lives of the most interesting and game-changing icons of our sport. You'll hear about their history, success, failure, and everything in between as we pull back the curtain and reveal the stories of their lives. I'm your host, Matt Martelli, and this is the Off-Road Racer podcast.
All right, Jim Beaver here with good friend Nicole Johnson here at the Jim Beaver Show and Off-Road Racer podcast with Rigid Industries here at SEMA, and just learned that you got into bare knuckle fighting.
Yeah, I'm hardcore. I am bleeding from the knuckles currently.
You and Vaughn Gittin Jr. got in a fight.
Yeah. So yesterday I went for a drift ride with Vaughn out there, and of course that's a lot of fun, right? And right when we got in, I'm like, yeah, and I put my hand out the whole time. And I get out and I take off the helmet and I'm just dripping blood. I don't even know what happened. I looked hardcore and I just ran with it. I have no idea. I seriously don't know what happened. It doesn't hurt, but I know it's disgusting. If I had a Band-Aid, I'd put it on it. It keeps bleeding.
It's not. It's carryover from Halloween. My Halloween paint, the paint, I couldn't get it off.
I can't stop. I walked in here to this hall and this thing ripped right open. It's just these big knuckles. Yeah. Don't get out of line, Jim.
I was going to say.
You're going to pop off to me. You're gonna experience these.
Dana White's going to walk by and be like, I'm signing her.
That's right.
We're in Vegas.
That's right. So how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Last time I saw you was with the Mint.
Yeah. I mean, geez. I've never raced that. I've never officially done any kind of like desert. I mean, I've done King of the Hammer.
I was going to say, you were like the original queen, right? You were the first female
finisher. Yep. First original finisher of King of the Hammers.
You're OG Hammers.
And I finished it twice in 2008 and then in 2010. And for a long time, like maybe a decade, I don't know. It took a long time. I think maybe Bailey Campbell finally, beat that out. But for like 10 years, I think I could be wrong, but I think I was the only girl for 10 years to do it twice. It's a tough race.
Yeah.
So
I've never done hammers, so there we go. I've done a lot of desert, never done hammers. So,
dude, our first time out there in '97 in an old Land Cruiser, it took us all day to do sledgehammer. So the fact that they can just run all of these trails and all the desert and get it all done in a day and still have time to catch your soap operas, I don't know. It's crazy.
It's like you hate to say hammers is boring. It's not boring. I love the event, but I'm like, but you look at it the UTVs in particular, they're finishing
crazy.
4.5, 5 hours, and I'm like. It used to be a challenge for a UTV. Now UTVs are racing with the 4400 cars. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I'd be curious to know. I don't know the industry stats, like Jeep owners versus, UTVs. Like, how much domination does it have in the market? Are you familiar with that? I don't know. But it's crazy because you have to trailer it, so you would think that would be cost prohibitive for most people, but it doesn't seem to stop them.
Got side-by-sides?
Yeah.
I see mine street legal because I'm in Arizona. So all mine are street legal. Utah, they're street legal.
Yeah.
So we just drive them like a second car. And I'm in 1 square mile town. So literally in my town, side-by-sides, you've got families, and the wife will have like an SUV. And the husband will have a UTV, and he just drives it to work because it's 1 square mile. And then they have their toy for the weekend, and then they've got the wife's car as like the one they go out of town in, take kids to soccer or whatever.
That's kind of cool, like the whole town's lifestyle.
Yeah, Havasu's the same way. Parker and Havasu, literally, you see them as much as you do cars.
So cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Kind of why I live where I live.
Yeah,
for what I do, it's great. But
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So what's going on with you? I know, you've got a crazy career, and I've actually never even had you on the show, which is kind of crazy in itself. But it's like you've had this amazing career that spanned. I mean, we talked about hammers to dive deeper into that. I mean, you've done Monster Jam. I mean, you made
Rock crawling.
Huge impact there. Rock
Monster
crawling.
Jam,
And it's
yeah.
like, now you've got like your YouTube series and you're doing a little bit of everything across the automotive space there.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we see the Shell hats, so they're involved.
No, I'm very grateful to be here this week. Shell has brought me out here this week, and I'm super fortunate. It's just a new relationship, and they're awesome. They are so awesome. I've been meeting the scientists, and I'm a nerd, and I love hearing why the product is as great as it is. So I am not trying to sit here and pitch a commercial or anything, but I truly enjoy it, and it's been fun. And I am a nerd, and I think I've always liked to understand how things work. My degree is in construction management. It's because I used to look up at like a ceiling and wonder why it didn't fall down. I didn't know about trusses and all of that stuff. As a kid, I was like, well, wouldn't gravity make that fall down? So I got into, building construction, and I've been a general contractor for 23 years in Nevada. So I think my brain just works very analytical. Get that from my dad. He was a diesel mechanic and was constantly explaining to me how things worked, and I loved it. And so, Detour, Nicole Johnson's Detour is just my exploration of all these other things I've never done before, and I love nerding out on the tech behind these cars, and I just missed out. I feel like, when you're in off-road, and all you see, and it's a blast. I am not knocking it. It's awesome. But you kind of, if you don't look around, right, you kind of miss that there's so many other things available. So that's all it is. I'm just totally nerding out on all the other things.
Well, it's funny. Your program is called Detour. Mine's Jim Beaver. I've even got a beer now, Jim Beaver's Misadventure. But it's like my life's a misadventure. And it's like, but in the last decade, like I grew up in off-road. My dad raced off-road for 35 years. It's all I have known my entire life. And then I got into doing radio and TV work. And I've been able to go to NHRA and the Indy 500 and, all these amazing motorsports and automotive events and festivals around the country and like see all these different facets of car culture. And it's been amazing because I feel like I love off-road and it'll be home and it'll always be home and that's where I'm going to come home to. But it's like I love being able to branch out and go and see this cool stuff, and understand it, meet the people and get behind the scenes. And like, because as much as we love off-road, there's somebody that loves, drag racing or hot rods or whatever it is, just the same amount,
Yeah. You realize that if you're an automotive enthusiast, regardless of what you like, there's the same passion across the board. If it's JDM, if it's Cobras, whatever, if it's off-road, everybody is equally as passionate. And that's probably why they sometimes butt heads, like my brand versus your brand, Chevy versus Ford, right? So I love it, and I enjoy hearing stories. When you're looking for great cars, let's face it, a lot of the people that we're finding are older because they've gotten to this point that they can't afford to either build or acquire some of these great cars. But these guys have stories for like 50 years. That's what's crazy, is learning their stories. I love it. I just think it's really cool.
So obviously, Las Vegas, it makes sense that you got into off-road because this is one of the off-road capitals of the world. But tell me, how does a girl go from construction management to off-road? And you've been at the upper echelons of off-road. Like we mentioned King of the Hammers and what you've done in rock crawling, Monster Jam, things like that. How did you go from construction management to where you were at?
Well, let's back up. I went to school at BYU in Utah and got my degree in construction management and got a job offer here in Las Vegas. So we moved here. Okay. They hired my husband too. So I was a project engineer actually on the Strip for the Fitzgerald's Casino. We were building casinos, right, for Martin Harris Construction, a good-sized local contractor. And my husband was swinging a hammer. Well, what's actually really cool is I'd walk on the job site with my hard hat and my clipboard, checking things out. My husband's swinging the hammer, and maybe a guy would maybe start to do a cat call or something. And he, girl walking on, and this is in the 90s, girl walking on the construction site, and he go, "That's my wife," and it was awesome because he'd totally stand up for me. And so we worked together at the same company. And the very first people we met were Land Cruiser owners, and he used to drive a 72 FJ40 with a Chevy 350 in it, and that was his daily driver at the time when we moved here. And so the week we moved here for work, he met other guys in the Land Cruiser Club. And he eventually became the president of that club. And he went around Vegas and broke a lot of trails, figured out how to get through them. So, we just started wheeling and then, competition rock crawling was kind of in its infancy in the late 90s. And that's way back when, Jeff Knoll was putting on competitions, way before Dave Cole was putting them on.
That's when Walker Evans first kind of started getting involved. He graduated out of trophy trucks into rock crawling.
Yeah, for sure. It's way back when Shannon Campbell was, well before Monster, and it's crazy. Cody Wagner was one of the guys. There's so many guys that go way back, but it was really in its infancy. My husband and his good buddy Dustin Webster had started. They were sponsored by Red Bull, and they had the Red Bull rock crawling team. And I'm just the wife on the sidelines. Our kids were little; they were babies. I don't know if you remember Pirate 4x4.
Yeah.
My handle was Spotter's wife because he was the spotter and I was his wife, and I was on the sideline with the little kids, right? And I think it just morphed from there. You get more and more extreme if you're hanging out with it all the time.
Yeah.
And one day somebody asked me to drive at an all-women's event in their vehicle, and I'd just been around it. We'd gone to Moab, we'd done trail wheeling as a family, and I knew the rules of rock crawling. I said, sure. 2004, and I won the event, and what happens? If you win an event, what happens to you?
Yeah, especially your first event.
You go pro. No, you get bit by that competition. But you're like, oh, you get kind of delusional, like, oh, I could do this, and I just wanted to do more of it, and we got our butts kicked. We just took our buggy out there and got our butts handed to us, and probably didn't deserve to be there, and eventually I got a Shannon Campbell buggy, and that was a real game changer for us because Shannon knows how to build a car.
Yeah.
And he kept calling me after he built that car and sold it to me and asking for dimensions. He wanted to know like the link dimensions. Like, you didn't write that down, Shannon? It was a great car. So my Campbell buggy helped put us, made us competitive. And it helped sort of bring some eyeballs to our brand, us as a team. And I think because I was able to get some good media out of it, some magazine articles, or, we were on Modern Marvels on the History Channel, and I built a little press kit before social media. And one day I was walking around SEMA. Here we are at SEMA, and it was in 2010. So this is 13 years ago. I'm walking around SEMA, and I'm trying to get into Lucas Oil short course racing. I wanted to race like a pro light so bad because I knew that they were televised, and I wanted to I aspired to try and do that. I did a little tiny bit in a 1600 buggy, not a full season, but just played around with it. I want so bad. I want to race short course. I just have to find $250,000. No problem, right? Right.
So Mitch, why is this bike so drippy?
It's our 23 race bike. We can start up front, work our way to the back. Bones can tell you about the suspension.
The rear shock is one of the most critical parts of the bike.
Pegs with the titanium mounts.
Kashima coating here.
Anti-gravity lightweight battery.
Young's modulus.
Horse and a half.
Works chassis lab.
More tie than a space shuttle.
Really? I might need that repeated.
This thing slaps.
Slaps.
Oh, you should have told me that earlier.
So I'm walking around here at SEMA, and I meet Dennis Anderson. And from that moment, the entire trajectory of me even sitting here and talking to you, stems all the way back to meeting Dennis, because he was with his son, Ryan, who's a driver, Ryan Anderson. And when he recognized that I was a rock crawler, he goes, oh, you're that rock crawler chick. All the doors opened, like, hey, come test drive a monster truck. It's like, really? That's a thing? I've never even been to a show. So I went and test drove for 2 days, and they offered me a job. Todd LeDuc was there with me. We were both on our very first time driving. Todd and I flew in. It was a test session for 2 people, and we both got offered jobs. And we're like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. Shoot, that's awesome. I'm like, when are you going to let me drive again? I mean, I test drove for 2 days. Never been to a show. And they're like, oh, no. The next time you're driving is in your show. So 6 weeks later,
you're like,
with
what?
2 days under my belt, I'm in a show, and it's like, I can't believe I'm here, but I won racing, so that's kind of cool.
It is funny how
I just learned a lot.
No, I mean, I had that moment, with me, and it was 2011, and it was it's 2011 or 2010. I'll have to look the date up, but it was with Ken Block, and I had known Ken, and I went to a Red Bull Global Rallycross race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and they were tag teaming with a NASCAR race at the time. And Ken invited me out because my dad has a Ford dealership and kind of done a favor for the Block family, and I had a 20-minute conversation with Ken because there was like a 2-hour delay in the race because of a crash. And so I had 20 minutes, and it was a conversation that changed my life. And I was just talking with him, and and he kind of opened up about how he marketed and the way he looked at things, and it literally changed the trajectory of my entire career at that moment.
Yeah.
And a year later, it was funny. I look at that, and like a year later, I was at SEMA, and they were running out front, making connections. The next year, I was actually hosting the Global Rallycross race at SEMA.
Wow.
And it was like literally I went from here like that, but it was like I look back and I go, all these weird cards fell in place, and I was at the right place, the right time, and I said yes to certain opportunities, and it was like...
That's exactly it. I can't tell you how many people over the years have said, how do I get into that? Like when I was at Monster Jam, how do I become a monster truck driver? Well, you have two choices. You can either go spend $250,000 and build a monster truck and just start, or you could maybe cross over from another motorsport, but you still have to start. You have to get in somehow, and you have to go out there. You do have to network. You have to not be afraid to talk to people, meet new people. You do have to put yourself out there a little bit. Just don't be afraid to talk to people. It's amazing how many people. Going back to high school, I was shy, if you can believe it or not. I was shy, and I felt nervous to say hi to people and talk to people. And when I realized that they weren't going to beat me up if I said hello, it changed everything for me. Truly, that was a moment. I remember somebody telling me, hey, that, okay, so when you're in high school, the bell rings and you're changing classes, and you have to walk in the hall and go to your other class, and you pass other kids, right? You say hi. Well, there's popular kids, and I wasn't a popular kid, but I was too intimidated to say hello to the popular kid, right? They would never maybe reciprocate. And it got back to me that so-and-so had thought maybe I was a snob or stuck up because I didn't say hello to him. And I was like, oh, I was just intimidated by them. And then that's when I literally talked myself into like, what are they going to do? Beat me up? They're not going to beat me up if I say hello. And so I think I have sort of believed that my whole life. Somebody isn't necessarily going to punch you in the face because you said hello to him.
You threatened me earlier. You got the bloody knuckles. So
unless your name is Jim Beaver and you pop off to me. Now, that's a whole other thing. But I said hello to Dennis. I walked up to him, stuck my hand out, and said, "You're Dennis Anderson. Hello." And then when I said who I am, we had this conversation. But if I had never walked up to him, believing he was a popular kid who would never say hi to me and punch me in the face, I wouldn't be here right now. So the best advice I have when somebody says, how do I get started? How do I get started in, I want to start a YouTube channel. Just go do it. Mm-hmm. And don't be afraid to meet new people. You got to get out of your comfort zone a little bit.
So I got to tell people, I'm like, you have to start. And I go, and if it's YouTube or a podcast or whatever, I'm like, for the first year, don't even look at the statistics.
So
I'm like,
hard.
don't do it.
So
I'm
hard.
like, you just put in the time and just keep cranking out content. But I tell people, I'm like, same thing as you. I'm like, and I get it. You and I are fortunate. We get to fly all over the country and go to all these amazing events. But I'm like, there's a lot of local events. And I tell people, I'm like, go out. Don't sit behind your computer and send DMs or send emails. Go and meet people, shake hands.
Go to a Cars and Coffee.
Yes.
Get to know some people, right? Or go to Off-Road Expo. Or go to SEMA if you're in the industry. Do whatever it takes. And you go way back to you become who you hang out with. You want to become a drug dealer, go hang out with drug dealers, right? Yeah. You want to become a rocket scientist, go have some smart friends. So you become who you hang out with. Think about that. Choose who you're going to hang out with and people you want to emulate. Are they going to help you get to where you want? And also, it does help when you have cheerleaders. When you have people, your family and your friends that believe in what you're aspiring to do, that does help. And I'm sure you have a support system that believes in what you're doing. I'm fortunate to have, family that really encourages me to keep going. So...
And that's there's a lot of trials and tribulations, you know what I mean? And there's people, gosh, the big shocker to me, and I'm sure you've had plenty of it. It's like the first, I hate to say hate mail because now it's just posting on social, but it's like first time somebody really is just like adamantly against you or something you've done, and you're like, what did I do? You know, and it's just, but you learn to just discard that, ignore it, don't pay attention. There's jealousy, there's a billion other factors that go into play,
Sure.
but it's like, it's just funny, like that's the first like really like, oh man, but you rely on your support system. You go, hey, what did I do wrong? No, you did nothing. Just ignore it,
Yeah.
but it's...
Yeah, I especially putting out a YouTube video.
gosh.
I mean, putting yourself out there. The irony is most of the people that say something negative have no profile picture and they're private.
Yeah.
Everything's private. You have no profile picture and you want to yell at me. Okay. Whatever. Hey, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Yep.
And it's easy for me to sit here and say the cliche thing of you got to have a thick skin. The reality is I have spent some time privately crying about a comment, and I'm like, why am I letting this get under my skin so badly? Like, they're not trying to do it, but like, I think everybody's a keyboard warrior and they would never do these things to your face, but they feel like, keyboard internet, don't do that. People don't do that. Don't be trolls.
No, don't be
Don't
trolls.
be trolls. The moral of the story is don't be trolls. We don't like trolls.
That should be the new Nicole Johnson shirt. Don't be a troll.
Don't be a troll.
Don't be a troll.
That's right. Yeah, don't be a troll. But we do have. I'm fortunate that we do have more positive than negative comments, so that keeps you
Absolutely.
going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, here's another thing. Now, since we're talking about comments and social media, and I think this is, you don't have to have a YouTube channel to know this. A lot of people have just regular social media. Quit hiding how many likes you get.
Oh, yeah.
Have you noticed, you can turn off likes.
Mine are public.
Listen, sometimes we put something out and it gets 50 20 likes, 50 likes, 100 likes, whatever, right? You want it to have 10,000 likes because your favorite popular person has 10,000 likes on something. But guess what? I heard something from somebody that really changed my perspective. Let's just say you get 200 likes on something, 50 likes on something. Could you imagine, just on a normal Wednesday, 50 random people came up to you and said, I like what you just did? Would that change your perspective? If you only got 50 likes and you were embarrassed in how it made you look, but if 50 people came up to you in real life and said, I like what you just did, you would be on cloud 9, like, can do no wrong. So you put things like that into perspective. Really think about who these people are. These are humans. Hopefully you don't have robots following you, right? But it's really neat when 5 people can comment on something. Don't take that for granted that that's 5 people that are on your side. Yeah.
Well, I've been one
It's all
too,
the
like,
warm and feel good Jim Beaver Show.
No, we were down a rabbit hole, so I love podcasts like this. But I've been one, like, I follow a lot of people back on social media. And I'm like, why'd you follow me? I'm like, you said some really nice things. And like I went to your profile and it's not, half naked human beings and, in politics. I'm like, so, you got a Jeep and you go out on the weekends with your family. Like, I don't care that you have 50 followers. Like, you say nice things and you listen to my show, I'll follow you.
That's cool.
Keep it positive. People are like, oh, I can't believe that. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know, just a weird world. So
It's a weird world.
So
Can't even say that. Weird world.
So I mean, what's next for you? Obviously, I know you've got this new announcement with Shell, but you've got your YouTube channel, you've got Detour. I'm assuming we've got another year of that coming at us.
Oh, I hope so too. So there is a car here at the show that is sticking around a couple of extra days that we're going to be shooting.
Okay.
So our next episode is a surprise.
Okay.
But let's just say, I'll give you one hint. He won Custom of the Year, Good Guys Custom of the Year, so it ain't too shabby.
Nice.
And we're excited. we have a lot of things that I probably can't talk about yet because we're building these relationships, but everything looks very positive. The people that we're meeting are awesome. Like, there's just a lot of cool cars all over this country. And I would like to travel all over the world and, tell stories and see different cultures and what makes people tick and why did they do that? We got some cool things coming out.
How's it been for you? I mean, obviously, you transitioned from, constant paycheck with, say, with Monster Jam and Monster Truck Racing and things like that, and it's like all the competition side and, and obviously you're still relying on sponsors, but now with your show and things like that, you kind of control your own destiny. How has that switch? Because it's nerve wracking. I know, but I'm like, how has that been for you? Because it's that constant paycheck of Monster Jam is beautiful to have.
I mean,
but
yes, it was a job. I had per diem and workers' comp and then a paycheck, and there was something solid there. And when you leave that, it wasn't necessarily the money. It was oh my gosh, it was the FOMO. I'm not involved anymore. I'm not doing anything on that professional level anymore. And you feel, I hope I made the right choice.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch. It's hard to watch other people progress in the industry.
Especially filling your seat in the truck you were driving, I'm sure.
Yes, for sure. Meanwhile, some of the fans didn't realize I had left. I still, to this day, my last show was in December of 2016. I still, to this day, have people that say, I just saw you in Nashville because they saw Scooby and they associate me with Scooby. It sucks because that wasn't really me, And so there are times when I wish that I was doing it, but at the same time, like you said, we don't have bosses. Get to control my own weird destiny. It's like like we're running a business, like an entrepreneur. This is a business. I have a business plan. Total world domination. Just kidding. But it's great because we can seek out the content that we want. And if it's cool to us, we're just going to put it out there. And if the world likes it, great. If they don't, we'll find another one and maybe they'll like that one. I don't know. It's really liberating to be our own bosses.
And it's funny, I went through, almost a decade and, certain ecosystems, and I was doing things and it was like, you have to do it this way, do this. And I finally, about 2 years ago, year and a half ago, you know what? I've put in my time. I'm going to do things my way. Mm-hmm. And I changed just what I was doing creatively with the podcast, with video, with everything. I just switched. And I go, I'm doing this for me from now on. And if you're a sponsor of mine and you have been, this is what's going on, but I got to do it for me now. And everybody stayed on board. Biggest thing was there was a shift. The fan base went, what just happened? There's like this flip that, the switch that flipped. But it's so much more gratifying now because I love and enjoy everything I'm doing because I'm doing it for me and it's my choice to do it.
Change can be hard. Whether you're changing a career or changing the path in your show or whatever you're doing, change can be really hard. And I think that one thing that you have to tell yourself is that you will miss 100% of the shots you don't take. If you think that there's something out here that you might like to do better, you will never know unless you try it. Yeah. And it is hard when your demographic sees that shift. And when I left Monster Jam and, of course, I'm not going to keep some of the same followers. They expect monster truck content. So you'll see some of them drop off and you got to pick up new. It's really hard. Yeah. It's hard to bring people along with you. One thing that we're kind of hell-bent on our show is variety. I want to drive everything. Mm-hmm. We recognize that some things are going to hit better than others. Shelby Cobras or bugs that have 500 horsepower. They're going to hit different than other vehicles. But if we don't do variety right off the bat, they'll never accept variety later. If I only do a particular type of vehicle, you can never introduce another one later. So some do better than others, but kind of as a building a brand that has variety, sometimes you have to know that, not everything will hit the same, but just do it. If that's what you want to do. If you want to build a variety, then go build the variety. Don't let yourself get, this one works. Oh, this one works, and this one works, and this one works, because you'll get stale. Imagine if every single thing I ever put out was the success of our first video. Our first video had 2 million views in 30 days. It was a weird viral hit we weren't expecting. But if I only said, oh, wow, VW bugs are awesome, and all I did was VW bugs for like the first 5 or 6 episodes, you're done. You can't ever change your content. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you become pigeonholed
Yep,
into.
totally. Don't become typecast. That's the other thing. Like, keep reinventing yourself, you know?
I say adapt or die. You know.
Oh, absolutely. Yep, survival of the fittest.
Yeah, it's like
we're very fit. Jim, you look fit.
It's been a weird year for me. I've put on a few pounds, but
Hey,
when you get a signature beer, it makes it tough.
You have a beer?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, that's funny.
So,
I need a signature chocolate.
Ooh.
I like chocolate. I would like
You need a chocolate sponsor?
I need a shoe sponsor. I need a chocolate sponsor. There's all kinds of. My butt would get pretty big though if I had a chocolate sponsor. Maybe we should probably avoid that.
Then you would pick up other sponsors.
That's right. How funny. How are we on that topic?
I have no idea, but that's the fun of these. So
what's next for you?
What
do you got coming up?
I got a big announcement in regards to next year. We're going to make on December 1st.
Okay.
So
we'll be listening.
It's kind of people who saw what I've done in the last year or two. It's kind of along those lines, but yeah, it kind of ties in with the whole misadventure thing, and it'll be fun. I will say I'm not racing next year, which I know I'm going to race because there'll be somebody call and say, "Hey, Jim, split driving with me at this race," and I'll go do it.
Sure.
So, but I formally don't have any plans to race my own race car next year, but I'm going to be probably more active than ever. So. So we'll just leave it at that. December 1, that's today. I haven't even said that to anybody publicly until now. So December 1, it's all been internal. But
okay. Well, we will be watching. So, no pressure. The whole world will be waiting.
It'll be fun. And honestly, now, like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I need to. After this announcement, I'll call you and be like, hey, we need to collaborate.
Sounds fun.
So. But
yeah, cool people. Look at this booth, man.
I know. This is actually a good spot. It's been we had a press conference earlier and a lot of people here. So
I've noticed it feels like pre-pandemic attendance levels. It's back. It feels really good.
Yeah, last year was a weird vibe, SEMA. It felt like for me it was anyways, but.
And 2 years ago, my gosh, with masks and stuff, that was tough. Yeah. That one was really weird.
I was here and I didn't stay very long because I was just like, hey, I don't want to deal with this.
No, it feels really great. This hall is really full. This is awesome.
I remember when they opened this hall, and it was kind of a ghost town the first year. And this year,
it was right around COVID, right?
Yeah,
it's only been recently.
Now it's packed.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, it was out of the way before, and it was like, I don't want to walk over there. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Now they got the Tesla tunnel that comes right to the thing.
That's so cool.
I was telling somebody, and they didn't even know there was a Tesla tunnel.
Yeah.
And I was like,
from the Boring Company. How boring?
Oh, we got Flippo over there. People watching the YouTube version of this can't see. Does anybody not know Damon Flippo at this point? I saw you walked up and immediately went over there.
Yeah, when you said got Flip, I thought you were looking at the camera. You got to flip something.
No, Flippo.
I know Flippo.
Yeah.
Hi, Damon. Yeah, we go kind of way back.
I think everybody goes way back.
Everybody, he knows everybody. He knows everybody. Yeah, he's listening.
If there was an automotive gypsy, it would be Damon Flippo.
Yeah. Yeah. He's still going out to all the races and stuff. Does he bring a support trailer, or what does he do?
Yeah, does that. Still goes to all the big truck events and things like that. So
that's cool. I probably ought to stop by some more off-road events. It's been a while. Yeah. It's hard to spectate. You know, like when you're not racing.
I get to live vicariously because I get to host a live stream. So it's like, and do TV work. So it's like I'm still there, and and I hate to say it, but it's more lucrative being on camera than it is behind the steering wheel.
Sure. Yeah, no, but it is hard if you don't have some sort of a capacity. Like you're helping. One time I went to a desert race, and Kurt Leduc and me and my husband and Kimmy, his girlfriend, we were running recovery together. How fun was that?
Yeah, that's
Kurt,
awesome.
Running recovery. Yeah. We flipped Jesse James back over. It was awesome. So, I mean, like, that's cool. Like, that's a capacity. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you don't have a job, it's really kind of hard to just spectate.
Just go and sit on the tailgate.
It's cool to, like, go help a friend, like, pit or something, you know? Yeah. But just to, like, spectate is hard. It's really hard. You got to be involved. And that's another thing. If you want to go do something, go start by helping a friend.
That's what I tell people.
Get involved.
That's what I told people that, I want to be a professional race car driver. I'm like, go volunteer for a team.
Totally. Understand how that works.
Yeah. There's actually so many stories in NHRA of, how did you get to be a funny car driver? And they'll be like, I started pit crewing for an NHRA team. They're like, well, you're running funny car now. Yeah, but I learned all the nuances of the car. And they're like, if you know the cars and how they work, they're like, it's not hard to be a fast drag racer. They're
Absolutely.
like, you know what I mean? There is skill involved. Trust me, there's skill, but it's like there's so much background.
Yeah.
It's a very intelligent sport. You think it's just hit the pedal, and it's not. It's, you know, so it's like, but, you know, those guys, they've made a career out of drag racing. They started out as pit crew, you know?
Sure.
So,
Yeah. A driver that can understand the mechanics behind it can obviously relay the information to his crew, like it's doing this, and not just like, I don't know, it feels funny, you know? So, but yeah, that's you have to start somewhere. Just go start. Are we supposed to lean in? He's going to yell at us. If we go like this, we get out of the camera. We can't do
you
that.
and I need a couch next time. We'll just,
Dude, it's nice to sit.
Yeah.
I've been on my feet. We're only 2 days in. We're only halfway through this week. Not even halfway through.
I was helping a
busy.
company design a booth for PRI, and I told them, I go, you want to draw people to the booth? They're like, yeah. I'm like, get like triple padding under the carpet.
Yep.
And they go, what do you mean? I go, if you put carpet over concrete, it's uncomfortable. If you put triple padding, people who've been on the concrete, they step into your booth and go,
They hang out.
oh, this is like Charmin Soft. I'll hang out here for 10
They don't
minutes.
even realize that that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
like subconscious. Yeah.
Yeah, it's subconscious, but people stick around because it's easier on their feet. So,
Yeah, totally.
weird.
There
weird.
are a lot of people hanging out here. Like, wow.
It's because Nicole Johnson.
Oh, totally. Well, you had Matt and BJ here before. I think that's why they were here.
Well, I think we're at time. You got stuff to bounce around to, but I appreciate you
you.
stopping by, Nicole.
You're awesome. Are we going to do Knuckles? You
Are we?
trust
I
me?
got no problem. I trust you.
You're awesome. Thank you for
right.
having me on.